comes The Rock. CM Punk's leaving the ring. He says, I don't need any of this. I still have my title. I'm happy. Out comes The Rock. The Rock flies down to the ring and wails on the Big Show. First of all, I didn't like this because it made The Rock look like he was greater than anything in the WWE. Because here's the Big Show, the guy that has been almost literally unstoppable for the last couple months. Only lost to John Cena because of like 6 other guys. And The Rock like single-handedly beats the crap out of him, lays him out, and prepares to do a people's elbow. But the moment of the night for me, The Rock bounces off the ropes to do the people's elbow, jumps over the Big Show, bounces off the other side, and as he's coming towards the Big Show, you see CM Punk with the clothesline out of the corner of your eye, nails The Rock, and then hits him with a GTS.
And I lose it. Okay,
Dude, we both lost it. I lost my freaking mind. This was so amazing.
Okay, I can't hold it in anymore, Ashton. I have to just get everything off my chest right here and now. Is that cool with you?
Yes, do it.
Good. Thank you so much. I remember many TWitWows back, I said that I don't think Punk should turn heel. I love him as a babyface. I could never see them turning again. This is the most delicious crow I have ever had. Because if you were going to turn Punk heel, this was the way to do it.
Well,
now,
what did I say? When you said that, what did I say to you? Did I agree with you or did I disagree?
You disagreed with me, which, of course, obviously, because your right ratio is so much higher than mine, is only logical that it would play out that way. Here is where I kind of become a villain here. Referring back to the Punk, Rock, Daniel Bryan segment earlier in the night, and this is why I saved this till the end, I got miffed at the crowd when they booed Punk when he said that he was going to boo The Rock.
Dude,
now,
okay, I know I said that I was done mentioning Twitter, but I have to. Let me check the timestamp on here. It was right after this happened. I said at 11:13 p.m. The segment earlier that the 3 of those guys had was a test to see if Punk could possibly get booed by the fans in the presence of The Rock. He did, and now we get this.
And we did, and I'm not saying it was bad because we got this. Here is why I got miffed, and this is why, even though he's a heel, I'm sorry, I am more pro CM Punk than I have ever been, because here is a guy in CM Punk who made it his mission to make the WWE Championship interesting again.
Yep.
He succeeds, gets a huge pop at MSG, Madison Square Garden at Survivor Series when he wins. Howard Finkel introduction, he's the best in the world. We get an emotional story with him and Chris Jericho, which I think really solidified his status. We get a great story with Daniel Bryan, just all these people. The Rock comes in, and I am going to be one of those guys, as I've said repeatedly throughout this TWitWoW. Rock comes in, I have no problem with The Rock. But he comes in, he's the one getting the comeback story, and it's like CM Punk, who was this guy? The guy that invested 8 months of his blood, sweat, and tears to make a title that was nothing more than a prop for Hot Potato before he held it, to something of prominence, to something worth talking about that The Rock's competing for. I know, let's just all pull our pants down and crap down on CM Punk. This made me so pro CM Punk it is ridiculous, because honestly, I smiled to myself when I heard the boos, because I said to myself, I want more than anything for Punk to just beat the crap out of The Rock at the Royal Rumble. And after this heel turn, what do I want? I mean, I know we have Raw requests. I'll tell you what I want right here and now in regards to this. Next Monday, I want Punk to sit Indian style in the center of that ring. I don't care if you open it or you close the show with it, and I want him to tell everyone off. I mean, everyone. Oh my God.
Okay, I have an honest question.
Yes.
How far have you delved into CM Punk's history of promo cutting?
Like what do you mean? Like how far back have I looked at his history of how he cuts promos, or what?
And stuff like that, yeah.
I'm going to be honest, Ashton. I'm the WWE mark. I don't really delve much into the indies. The only indie promo I saw before you continue was the invisible microphone to the woman.
Right.
And then he tells her whatever.
Right.
So, why?
Okay. When Punk was the Ring of Honor World Champion, I think it was either when he had just won it or when he had just defended it against easily his most likely to beat him kind of opponent, like what Cena was tonight. He cut a promo, and it was a heel turn, and he cut a promo saying that the smartest thing the devil ever did was convincing everybody that he didn't exist. And he told this story about how an old woman, and these are actually movie quotes that he used and kind of twisted the context. He said a story about how an old woman found a snake frozen in the ice, and she took the snake home, and she nursed it back to health, and she thawed it out, And as soon as that snake was healthy, he bit her. And as she laid there dying from the venom, she said, "Why? Why would you bite me? I raised you. I cared for you. I saved your life." And all the snake said was, "You dumb broad. I am a snake." And this is all Punk talking. This is him basically telling the fans that they're morons for cheering him and getting behind him. And that's the exact, and I don't even care if he doesn't change a single word of it, that's the promo I want him to cut.
Dude, honestly, to stay on track, that reminds me of another fable that I could see CM Punk doing, although again, kind of twisting it, of course, to fit it. It was this frog and this scorpion, and they had to cross the river because neither one of them could cross it. And the scorpion was like, "Can you give me a ride? Can I ride on your back?" And the frog is kind of skeptical about this. He's like, "I don't know, we're natural enemies. How can I trust you?" And the scorpion's like, "Look, don't be crazy. We both got to cross this river. Why would I jeopardize us both? It's in my best interest to work with you, despite the fact that we're natural, predator-prey kind of relationship." So the scorpion gets on the frog's back, and as the frog's like in the middle of the river, the scorpion injects the frog with his venom, and the frog croaks as it's dying. "Why did you do that? You've killed us both." And the scorpion simply replies, "Because it is in my nature." And it's in Punk's nature to be the best at whatever cost. It's in his blood. It's in his DNA. He is a wrestler. And I think he looks at somebody like The Rock, who I'm sure he will call Dwayne Johnson. He won't even bother calling him The Rock. And he'll say, "Dwayne walked into my house, took my pop, took my hard work, and you expect me to just be quiet and stew over it?" I just want him to go against everybody, because here's the thing. Punk is justified. I was miffed at the fans when they turned on Punk and embraced The Rock. I get it. Believe me, I do. It's The Rock. He's beloved. He's held on a higher pedestal. I understand. But I'm looking at it as a guy who has heralded CM Punk as the savior of the WWE Championship, as a guy who said he was going to make it interesting, and he succeeded. And the idea that all of this fruit could be reaped from a man's bare hands and his blood and his ethical code of pro wrestling, and in turn he gets spit on because it's not enough, because at a moment's notice when something bigger comes along, he gets forsaken by the very people that he wanted to embrace, that he wanted to make the best product for, when he said, "I don't care if I have to sell tickets, ring announce, commentate, I want to give the best show for these people." And they in turn say, "Not enough." And they do it in the form of booing this man for somebody that, yes, was an integral part of their childhoods. But to me, I still look at Rock, and yeah. What were you going to say, Ashton?
I was going to say that it's kind of funny that he did this literally a week after the Big Show told John Cena, while Punk was in their presence, that the fans don't care about you, that, if you would leave today, that they would just move on to the next thing by the following week, and all this stuff. And it's like Punk heard those words, and he embraced those words more than Cena did, because Cena has this uncorruptible moral code.
For anybody, and I'm not going to go off on a tangent, I'm not saying this to be critical, for anybody who may be complacent, who may be complaining, who may be downtrodden that we are getting Punk Cena at SummerSlam again, please,
Punk's
again,
heel.
Punk is heel. Please look at this with a fresh mind. Please. Because to me, this is a whole new narrative being told. This is Punk putting professional pride over ethical principle. Ashton, I'll tell you something. Growing up as a wrestling fan, your tastes kind of mature. When you're a kid, you kind of look at the most glamorous superstars, the most, star-studded, the guy who's just really flashy and spectacular. When you mature, at least speaking from my personal experience, I really do look at the characters. I look at the narratives. I look at what they're presenting to me. I really gravitate towards Damian Sandow, because you've said it best. If I was a pro wrestler, that'd be my gimmick.
Right.
I look at CM Punk because he's such a great villain. One of my favorite villains, and CM Punk loves comic books, so I'm keeping it appropriate, is Magneto. Magneto is one of my favorite villains because he's the villain who, can you really on which that his villainous deeds stand upon. And I think CM Punk's that same kind of villain. Can we really crucify him? This man's WWE champion. He has been for 8+ months. He's making history. He made history again here tonight in my mind, because he was a guy. He evaded his Money in the Bank challenger. Not necessarily in the nature that I would have liked him to, but considering what we got out of it, who cares? This guy's a villain now, and I am in love with it. And he's the type of villain that no matter what he does, you're going to be questioning, am I right or wrong? for booing this man or cheering this man. I am more in this man's corner than I have ever been. And if this did anything, because look, what's been interesting about Punk's reign, in my personal opinion, it's had dips and it's had rises. I could tell people were starting to get bored as the Jericho feud kind of dragged on. In fact, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I think you were even starting to grow a little weary and wanted Jericho to win because I think you wanted an injection of adrenaline for CM Punk because it seemed like, he's getting all these wins, whatever. I think that was even a point.
Going into Elimination Chamber, I wanted Jericho to win the title so that Punk would be on the chase for WrestleMania rather than the champ.
And I think a lot of other people were the same way. It's like, is Punk going to do whatever? I saw some comments, just last night before Raw. Punk is turning into Cena, and not many people even realize it, which I completely disagree with. But it's things like this that keep the title reign fresh. It's things like this that make you totally suspend the number of 8 months and just say, what's next? Because
I think that what makes this best is it feels like a title change, even though it's technically still on the same guy, because it's not going from CM Punk to John Cena, it's going from babyface CM Punk to villain CM Punk.
And will these boos carry over? How is the next town next week going to receive
Dude, I don't care how they react to him when his music hits. He's going to turn them against him. He's too good on the mic to allow himself to be a heel that gets cheered. And that is pretty much the biggest problem that Randy Orton has. And that's probably why the WWE thinks that Randy Orton has plateaued, because if he is a heel, he doesn't have the talent and the talking ability to turn them against him.
Right. And I do think, we need a meteor locker room in terms of like who the heels are. Punk is a huge step because you and I have been clamoring, break the face cycle of champions. We've got Miz, and if you don't like Miz, you got Punk. Yes. How do you complain about that? How?
This goes all the way back to last year. June 17th, I believe the date was, when he sat up on the stage, cut his first ever pipe bomb. Got suspended for it, obviously. But to me, going back to the Chris Jericho vignettes that he had, the little boy and the little girl, the way I interpreted that, and it's on my literally, I think it's actually still my most recent blog post. I haven't posted anything since then. I saw that as Chris Jericho coming back from his leave to take that position as the number one heel in the company, because he was, imagine he being the master, Punk as the student, and Chris Jericho told Punk, Punk, I'm the number one heel, you're the number two heel, but when I leave, you're going to have to take over as the number one heel. And Punk didn't fulfill that honor because Punk turned face. And that left us, and you can even, agree with me, concur with me, whatever you want to do on this, even if you don't agree, that left us with a huge gap in the antagonist position in the WWE, namely on Raw, because we had Mark Henry on SmackDown kind of running roughshod. But on Raw, we didn't really have any antagonists. Alberto Del Rio was still becoming established. The Miz, I personally can't take seriously, and I know a lot of other people will agree with me there. And those were literally the only two real heels in the company, or on the Raw side, I guess I should say, until we got to TLC, and eventually Jericho came back on January 2nd. But the idea is that Punk is finally fulfilling the prophecy that Chris Jericho set out for him and becoming that number one top heel on the Raw side, and I am so clamoring for it.
It's the end of the world as we know it. It's finally happened. Because the guy, what I would love for him to say, and I'm just thinking about lines that Punk could come out with. He says, you know what? I'm not the voice of the voiceless anymore, because on the 1000th episode of Raw, you found your voice, and the first thing you did with it was turn on me. And I just, there's so many things I want him to say to the crowd, to The Rock, to Cena. I'm telling you, people have been clamoring.
Eve Torres and The Big Show, who have told us for the last few weeks that he's been getting overshadowed by these guys.
Not tonight. Not tonight. And I'll tell you something, Ashton. People have been clamoring for another pipe bomb-esque promo. In fact, you know what? When we wrap up here and this episode concludes, I'm going to go back on YouTube and rewatch that shoot promo, because I think if there's any opportune time to watch it again, it is after this turn, because I just
sense... And you know what? At the same time, go find his Ring of Honor heel turn promo, because that's like, I can't emphasize it enough. That is what I want from Punk here. He basically completely restated everything that he said when he won the ROH World Title, when he cut that original pipe bomb, talking about how he's going to leave with the title, and he's going to be the number one asset in the wrestling world and all this stuff. That's basically, he did that in ROH too. So it's not like him recycling his Ring of Honor storylines and promos would be new. I want him to cut that freaking heel turn promo next week, if not on SmackDown. It's one of those things where maybe if Punk does something huge on SmackDown, people will freaking watch the show.
Very true, Ashton, but here's my thing. I mean, I love SmackDown. You know how you and I really have gotten behind the product on previous episodes of TWitWoW. This needs to be live. This needs to continue the 3-hour era.
That's true. I kind of got a little bit overzealous there, but
I don't blame you.
So anticipating whatever promo he does. Like I said, I want what he did with the ROH heel turn promo, but there's a lot of stuff in that promo that he can't really manipulate into the context of the WWE. But those stories where he talks about how the snake is a snake and it's just natural and he just can't change that about himself, and that the devil's greatest deed was convincing people that he didn't exist, and talking about how everybody let him in and they all fell for it, and he was the puppet master pulling on their strings, and they were so happy to dance for him, and how they bought his merchandise and they got behind his ice cream bar movement and all this stuff, and it was just him dragging them along. And that's what I want. I want him to become
such
the aggressor.
Such a great villain. And look, I just want to say one more thing, because I feel like you and I are going to start to have CM Punk gush sessions on TWitWoW. We love Dolph to death, but I think if this continues at this pace, we may have our own little sliver of time for CM Punk gushing, because my thing is, for anybody upset with CM Punk's status, not main eventing pay-per-views, not doing this, not doing that.
That's about to change.
That's about to change. Not only is that about to change, look at this as a payoff. Look at this as atonement for those misgivings. Look at this as a step forward. Everything has a payoff, people.
And you know what? Here's my thing. CM Punk not being in the main event of the last few pay-per-views, they may very well have been a work. It may very well have been the WWE's way of creating a reason for Punk to be angry, to do this.
Exactly. Look, what WWE does best is they create a veil of ignorance to which we all stand behind.
Yep.
When that veil gets pulled, what you thought was reality just totally gets shattered. I could go on about this forever. Why isn't it next Monday yet? This is what Punk has done. It goes from when Miz won the IC Championship to me thinking, man, I'd kill for Morrison to be on TV, to then Punk does this, and I'm right back to just saying, you know what, take your fucking time, because we are here, and I'm sorry for swearing, but I think it calls for it. I'm just so excited. It's just something where TV is about to be taken to a whole new level if you're a wrestling fan.
3-hour Raw, baby.
3-hour Raw, and this guy is going to be the flag bearer. People say, yeah, John Cena. Look, Cena is always going to be that guy. But Punk has an entirely different spot. He is the villain. He is the villain. He is the villain I have been clamoring for. It's funny, when Kane came back, we said it was so great that we have this kind of antagonist. When Mark Henry was world champion, oh man, this is awesome. This is not a 300-pounder. This is not a monster. This is an angry man. And there is nothing more dangerous than an angry man. And he doesn't need the muscle mass of a Mark Henry or a Big Show, and he doesn't need the size and the weight. But Punk has bitterness. Punk has ability. Punk has a perception of where he should be.
To quote Gabe Sapolsky, he has venom.
Venom. That's what he is. He is venom. And it's going to be injected into everyone. I want this guy to go to Royal Rumble, stare The Rock down. Because listen, if Rock's going to have this comeback story, which I said the only way it could be any bigger is if Austin made a tout video or YouTube video or appeared live and said he wanted one more run. That's the only way you can outdo this.
Oh, and one more thing in regards to Austin. Austin has said in interviews before that in order for him to have a match with CM Punk, Punk would need to be the heel. Step one, complete.
There you go. And the thing that's going to make this comeback story even sweeter, it was a quote on Smallville, which I was somewhat of a fan of. I'm not really big on Superman, but I thought the show was solid. And the guy who played Lex Luthor said this really great quote that always stuck with me. He said, "Come on, Clark. You need me. We're a part of each other. A hero is only as good as his villain." Who knows what this is going to do for John Cena? But in the further future, what is this going to do for Rock's comeback story? Because I look at this villain. Is Rock good enough? He toppled Cena, which to me was a shock. Can he topple Punk? We don't know where Cena is. Cena's kind of in limbo in that good way, not in that Cody Rhodes way where we're immediately concerned. Is he going to get his Money in the Bank briefcase back? Is he going to go to SummerSlam? Is he going to have to face Big Show to get another title shot? How hard is Rock training? What is Punk doing? I said, and it's so funny that I said this on the last TWitWoW, because I know you made all these tweets and you were dead on. I think the one thing that I was dead on about was I said after tonight, the WWE Championship would never be in a stable place again. And I think this heel turn proves it, because now it's really in a realm of chaos, because I don't know if Show's going to be gunning for him. Cena, we've got Rock.
I promise you one thing, the Big Show will not be gunning for CM Punk, if for no other reason because they're both heels now.
Absolutely. I mean, who knows?
So it comes down to, is it going to be John Cena, which I'm 99.99999% sure we're going to get babyface Cena versus heel Punk at SummerSlam, although I do think Punk will retain. But then the question is, who after that?
I do think Bryan's going to get one more go-around for the championship unsuccessfully.
Bryan's not a babyface.
So either Punk's reign would have to end,
or Jericho would have to turn face, but that would be kind of weird.
But I think hasn't he? I mean, with what
he's on the heel team tonight.
Yeah, but look at how that ended. I mean, Ziggler sucker punched him. I guarantee you next week, Jericho is probably going to come out with either another silent promo or an actual promo that's sympathetic, and then Ziggler's going to come out and do whatever. I mean, but see, that's the thing. We're speculating.
Yes.
And that's what this has done. This is all speculatory. I'm not a writer. Unfortunately, you're not a writer. We're speculating. And I don't know what is going to happen, but I do know this. I know where I'm going to be, front and center, eyes glued. Absolutely. This has totally made me get back into the Punk character. Not that I ever wavered from it, not that I was ever pulling out in terms of support, but, I mean, I needed this because I'm thinking, you know what, Punk has had this reign. And another thing, for all the CM Punk lovers that love what he's done for the championship, you should be dancing in the streets because heel champions always dominate the picture. Look at JBL, who was only a one-time WWE champion, but look at what he did in that one reign. Punk has 10 times the ability JBL ever did, and 20 times the ability.
Do you think that we're going to get the 14-month, full-on, not losing any championships reign from Punk to last until the Royal Rumble in January, where he loses it to The Rock?
Yes. I'm calling it. Absolutely.
I hate to make that bold of a prediction, but I honestly do think that they can pull it off. And by they, I mean both the WWE's creative team to keep it interesting and Punk to keep it interesting.
I'm going to make a reference, and it has a purpose, to TNA here, because you said your biggest problem with Destination X, that they killed a lot, if not all, of Robert Roode's momentum as an antagonist for James Storm, making the sympathetic comeback, winning the Bound for Glory series.
Right.
WWE, in my personal opinion, would make the same slip if they have Punk lose it briefly to Cena. And my biggest gripe with Cena being a champion, I'm not one of these Cena haters that wants to go to his house, burn an effigy on his front lawn, and make death threats. My biggest gripe with Cena holding championships, I know the reign is never going to be long, because the last time he waited a year, he held it. I think the reign was only like 1 to 2 months, 2 to 3 max. It wasn't long at all by Cena standards. If they have Cena win and then Punk gains it back just before the Rumble, to me, I don't want to say that him turning heel is useless, because I think that really is going a bit far, but you could have more momentum if you just have Punk go straight through. Again, this is a comeback story for The Rock. He wants that one run. He had the epiphany when he beat Cena. He was, a wave of emotion, of nostalgia, and he thought, what else can I do? There's got to be one more thing, one more run. This story can be so epic. Again, the only thing that would make it any bigger is if you replaced Rock with Austin, because it's Stone Cold Steve Austin. That would be eaten up like candy. We're not getting it. And The Rock is a beloved figure. I don't want to make it seem like Rock's some hobo off the street. He is extremely well received. You can make this story seem so much more if you have an angry, venomous heel Punk. Instead of an angry, venomous heel Punk who's just coming around his second reign, which would have been brief at that time. Let him... I have never begged for anything. Well, okay. I've begged for maybe 1 or 2 things. It's a very slim list. But I am begging WWE at the top of that list. It tops it. let Punk, please, let Punk have his run. I honestly don't care if Rock beats Punk. In fact, Ashton, I'm going to level with you. I'm anticipating it. But let him beat Punk once Punk has had his run. Because then it'll be beyond a feel-good moment. It'll be a brilliant story coming full circle. Please, do
I'm going to go
not...
ahead and throw out a little bit of a minor little fantasy booking here. I think Punk retains the title, keeps it till Rumble, loses at the Rock at Rumble, Elimination Chamber, one-on-one with The Rock, loses again. I'm predicting that The Rock's actually going to have 3 matches rather than the 2 that he had last year. So yeah, one-on-one with The Rock, loses again, basically knocking Punk out of the title picture. He moves on to whatever feud he has leading up to WrestleMania, most likely Austin. Please, please, Austin. And Cena wins the Elimination Chamber, getting the WWE title shot against The Rock, where finally Cena over Rock.
I mean, the WWE title picture, I don't want to say seems clear-cut, but you can kind of tell where it's headed. Because, you know...
My only question is, who is going to Punk defend against over the course of the next 7 months?
Cena's going to be big.
I don't think that he's not going to defend it against Cena more than once or twice. I think that he'll probably do something underhanded to win against Cena at SummerSlam, and then beat Cena in a way that knocks Cena out of the title picture for good. Whether that's cleanly, which I doubt, or just straight up, cheating without getting caught at Night of Champions.
Maybe Christian or Mysterio. I mean, I don't see
Christian. Maybe Mysterio, but I think that Mysterio has too much unfinished business in the SmackDown side, dealing with the likes of Del Rio and eventually Mark Henry when he comes back. But the one guy that really stands out to me that might be the guy to make a run at Punk to keep his title reign interesting would be Randy Orton.
Right.
Or because it's not a WrestleMania match, Undertaker Punk at Survivor Series. Oh!
Yes, that could be. Okay, here's the thing. Here's the way I see it. Here's my top 3. Cena's definitive. Randy Orton, agree with. I know it's whatever. Orton's going to get his spot back. It's a foregone conclusion to me. No doubt about it.
Yeah, you know what, though? I think Orton should stay on the SmackDown brand because here's my thing. I think that Sheamus is on the verge of losing his title, whether that be to Ziggler because of Money in the Bank, which would be epic, or a Mark Henry or a Wade Barrett, which would basically cause Ziggler to turn face by cashing in Money in the Bank. But either way, Orton is going to come back and be inserted into the World Heavyweight title picture, whether that be against Ziggler or a Mark Henry or a Wade Barrett. I wouldn't mind any of those feuds. I think that the WWE title picture needs to be Raw guys, not Orton, not Barrett, not Sheamus, not Mark Henry, not Mysterio, not Del Rio, none of those guys. I think it needs to stick to the Raw side. I honestly do think that the best thing to do, and I'm at the point now where if The Undertaker's coming back for a Survivor Series match, and it's all but confirmed that he is, I want Punk to beat Cena somehow or another at SummerSlam and Night of Champions. I have no idea what I would have Punk do at Hell in a Cell, whether it would be Cena for a 3rd time or Undertaker for the 1st time and then have the rematch at Survivor Series. That would be epic. But either way, I want Punk Taker at Survivor Series. And then maybe they give a young guy a shot at TLC, kind of like what they did last year, but at Rumble, when they gave Ziggler the shot against Punk at the Royal Rumble. And then, obviously, from then on, it kind of plays itself out.
See, and I'm glad you said that, Ashton, because here is my concern. As epic as everything is, you said keep it to Raw, guys, and you did have great booking as only you can, and that's why I've said repeatedly that I wish you were a writer for the company. Here is what I personally see at one point, and I am glad you said it before me, so I know I'm not alone. There is going to be one filler kind of feud. I could see somebody like Kingston breaking through, maybe by a battle royal.
If it was Jomo.
Don't do that to me. Oh my God.
After tonight, and the mood that you got me in last week, you deserve it.
I know, I deserve all of this, but if he was to come back, considering their feud over the ECW championship,
yeah,
seeing a heel Punk versus a face Jomo who's worked on his promo skills go at it with Punk on the mic, Oh, WWE, I'm still picking Morrison to win the Rumble. I don't care how hysterical people think I am. He's my 2013 pick, without a doubt.
That's not hysterical at all. If he goes into, look at it this way, if he goes into TLC, a number one contender for the WWE Championship, loses to Punk, goes into Rumble with all that momentum, he can win that, and rather than going after Punk or obviously, most likely, The Rock, he can go to the SmackDown side. He can make that switch and go after a
Yeah.
Ziggler or an Orton. Dude, Orton Morrison for the world title, holy crap.
Personally, because I just utterly loathe Sheamus, I want Sheamus. And because also they had a great feud. They had a great feud when Sheamus was heel. But regardless, again, this isn't about Morrison as much as I wish it was. God, episodes of Raw like this make me clamor that Morrison was still a member of the locker room and doing whatever. But he's healing. He's getting better when he comes back. That world championship is mine. But that's another TWitWoW for another time because that will happen. Guaranteed. Looking at the present, I could see Kingston breaking through via a battle royal or a beat the clock.
My only question is, where is room for the young guys? Where is, when is Dean Ambrose going to debut? Who's he going to debut against? What point in the card, whether lower, mid, upper, main event, is he going to be in? If Punk's WWE champion, obviously Ambrose isn't going to show up against him. Maybe Ambrose is John Cena's feud until he gets to the point where he can go against The Rock, and then Ambrose kind of trades off for somebody else. I don't know.
Oh, that would be so epic. God, I want Ambrose here already. Again, guys, please check out Ashton's FCW Superstar Spotlight at Ambrose. One of the best videos I think you've ever made.
I guess here's my thing. I don't want to see another WrestleMania go by without a Dean Ambrose on the card. Even if he's just in the dark match battle royal. I don't care. I want this guy on WWE television. Like, the fact that he still hasn't shown up. It's like...
It's insane. Because here's my thing. And again, I do deserve the Jomo shots because we've made it painfully obvious on this TWitWoW. I want Morrison to come back because the product is getting hot. And he did say within a year or so, I mean, the clock's ticking. I think by the time 2013 rears its head, he will be back, without a doubt. I'm hoping the Rumble, he is my pick, and I'm being dead serious. I could see Miz as Intercontinental Champion, maybe doing very well. Morrison eliminates him. Would he go on to win? I don't know. Ashton wants Ambrose, and I want Ambrose right there with him because it's Ambrose. It's epic. It's beyond words. What we're looking at here is a turning of the tide. I don't know what's going to happen, but I know that these guys, they need to step it up. Ziggler, Jericho is going to be amazing. I want to know what a Tyson Kidd's going to do. Cody Rhodes. I haven't even thought about Rhodes. He did a dark match with Tyson. And that is, because he did a dark match with Tyson last Friday. Cody has really fallen, and I want to see him pick himself up. I mean, my dreams of Sheamus facing Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam all but dashed, no pun intended. Really. You don't think so? You think he could still make it?
Well, I mean, who else would Sheamus face?
Del Rio again? But then again...
he's beaten him very concisely. I think that Del Rio's SummerSlam opponent is clearly Rey Mysterio.
And for that brief moment, I forgot that they were feuding. And you're right, Del Rio, Rey. I don't know. All I do know is that these guys have an opportunity, because with Punk putting on television like this and the kind of Raws that we got, I think the viewership is going to be on an incline.
I'm going to make a really, really early official SummerSlam card prediction for the SmackDown side. Del Rio, Rey, Christian, Miz, and a triple threat World Heavyweight Championship match between Sheamus, Cody Rhodes, and Randy Orton.
Oh, so epic. Cody Rhodes at only 27 years old, getting his kind of SummerSlam
Speaking of which,
spot.
did you catch my little shout-out to my Ambrose video?
Yes, I did. I did, and I love you for it. Again, check that vid out, folks. But I love it because it's so unpredictable, and I don't know what we're going to do, because I do see a guy getting his spot. Again, I don't know why I'm thinking Kofi Kingston, but I am thinking Kofi Kingston at one point may tangle it up a Punk. He has to lose the tag titles first.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I'm a fan of Kofi Kingston just because he brings the energy, but he, in my eyes, he's not a main event guy. I'm not saying I never ever see him in any main event matches ever, but for the time being, he just isn't on that level overall. Like, if he was in a main event, even if it was against a smaller guy in stature like a CM Punk, I would not be able to take him seriously, because here's a guy that I see as a guy that would be like in the long list of names for a Ryback or Brodus Clay squash down the line with R-Truth.
Right.
like the Hunikos and Camachos and Drew McIntyres of the world.
I mean, it's one of those times where I don't want to say WWE's booked themselves into a corner because this has so much potential, but the problem is you have Cena, you have Taker. I think you need at least one or two more guys to really fill it out. And you said specifically you want Raw guys. If we're going by that, we do have a problem because I can't legitimately think unless you want to do face Jericho. But Jericho, honestly, I don't even think is booked for anything beyond SummerSlam.
No, and from what I understand, apparently Jericho is also. Actually, I don't know. I don't know if is Jericho face or is he heel because tonight I don't know. He was on the heel team, but he kind of got screwed over. So I'm extremely hesitant to call him a face. I'm more hesitant this week to call him a face than I was last week.
Wow, I'm the exact opposite. I'm more comfortable making that distinction, and I think the week after he'll cut some kind of promo, he'll get the Y2J chance, Ziggler will capitalize, it's whatever, but that's why I do think we're going to see some SmackDown trade-offs, which I think is good. It's a super show, treat it like one. I can understand where you're from.
Oh, no, that wouldn't work. I was going to say Cody, but he's heel, so that's out of the question.
But, Christian Punk, I would mark.
Dude, their matches would be great, but nobody would care.
Why do you say that?
Because everybody in their right minds would know that Christian would not win that title from Punk.
Maybe Sheamus then. I don't care about
Sheamus. That's kind of my thing. How do I put this? The WWE thrives on their ability to create that separation from disbelief. And if you put a guy like Christian or, even like we were talking about earlier, Kofi Kingston against CM Punk, everyone knows that guy's not going to win the title. Whereas, on the other hand, if we want to talk about a Jomo, his run going up to the point where he was beating Sheamus for the number one contendership and then going against Miz, a lot of people thought he would win it, including me, including you. Thought that he would be able to win the WWE title, and if not from the Miz, somewhere down the line. So that's the kind of a TV feud that I'm talking about, and that's kind of why I don't think that
You don't know how happy you've made me with that whole statement that like Morrison is kind of apart from those guys, because I agree. Because look, Mark aside, he was at a point.
We need to come up with some kind of a tier list where we just like, as far as the way we see it, and we won't do it here. We'll probably do a separate video sometime, a collab, but we need to come up with some kind of a video where we come up with a tier list of the guys as far as like realistically and believably being able to beat certain people. Like, I would put all the way at the top of the list would be like Undertaker, Triple H, John Cena, Brock Lesnar, The Rock, and then like on the next stage would be like Punk and Bryan and Big Show and Kane and those guys, and like there would be like the John Morrison, Dolph Ziggler tier, and then below that would be like Kofi and Christian and Santino, and then like below that would be Jobbers.
And I'm thinking as well, which the solution now is apparently obvious. I either bring in Taker for the Survivor Series or my personal option, bring back Morrison. But containing the mark, we're also not really considering, or if we have, I don't think we've considered it fully enough, multi-man matches where you mix the heels and the faces so you kind of get to breathe a little bit.
Right.
Yeah, maybe Punk gets some one-on-one time with Cena and Undertaker, but who's to say at one pay-per-view?
That would literally be the only way that I would believe a Kofi Kingston in involving the WWE title, because he would be in it just to eat the pin. So it would be okay, because it would just suspend the disbelief between who's going to win between Punk and whoever isn't Kofi Kingston in that match.
Right, and Ashton, hey, you figure Night of Champions, a pay-per-view known for its six-pack challenge.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot all about that.
So that could be an opportunity. I think the idea that multi-man matches are also going to be an integral part of this, at least in my opinion, will salvage this. Because, again, I don't want to say that they booked themselves into a corner. What they booked was brilliance. Again,
I'm predicting a multi-man match at either Hell in a Cell or Night of Champions, one of those two, and TLC.
Yeah, I could see him doing another triple threat TLC match like he did, against Del Rio Miz.
Yeah, that was an amazing match.
It was, because Punk is just God.
It's so funny how many people forget all about that TLC pay-per-view. They're like, because that match itself was amazing. That pay-per-view was amazing. Like, top 3 of 2011. And people don't even talk about it. Like, they're all talking about, if you talk about 2011, everyone only talks about WrestleMania and Extreme Rules. and maybe Money in the Bank because of Punk, but that's it.
Yeah, and it's funny that more people talk about TLC because John Cena was not at the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Like, it was every internet mark's,
If
wet
for
dream.
whatever reason, that's memorable.
Exactly. Ashton, I've had a lot of fun thinking about the possibility of CM Punk heel because, again, CM Punk turning heel, I think it puts so much sand back in the hourglass.
Yeah.
Because with him being face, it's like, okay,
Like I
this
said, dude, when Daniel Bryan turned heel, it didn't necessarily put more sand in the hourglass, it just made the hourglass a whole lot bigger.
Exactly, and you can definitely say the same thing here. I think Punk's reign is going to go well over a year, and Punk has just been so stupendous that not once have I gotten tired of it. Not once. And this certainly changes the game, because I'll be honest, had he continued down the face path, well, I love CM Punk as a babyface. I'll admit, it could have gotten a little impatient. I could have been like, well, Punk, let's see you back on the chase again. Not anymore.
Right.
Have an iron grip on that title, son. Go to the Royal Rumble. Beat The Rock. I want him to beat The Rock so bad. I know he's not going to, but I gotta be honest. I'm the type of guy, and I know so many people disagree with me, and rightfully so. But I'm sorry, you turned on Punk. Punk did not turn on you when you booed him and embraced The Rock, who didn't do squat for the WWE Championship. That those same people, I guarantee.
That right there is exactly why that crowd was so perfect tonight, because they played right into the WWE's hands. WWE threw The Rock and CM Punk in the same segment to do that, to get the crowd to turn on Punk, because they knew that The Rock was such a huge babyface that they wouldn't boo him no matter what. It's exactly what they did with Christian and Orton last year at the beginning of the summer. They didn't necessarily, it's not like Christian did something horrible to get the fans to turn on him. They just put him against a bigger babyface in Randy Orton. And the crowd was literally the ones that made the decision to put him against Orton because they had that pull up. So that's perfect crowd manipulation by the WWE's writing staff.
Hey, they talked about fan interaction. You got your wish because you did this to CM Punk. I was personally appalled. I applaud CM Punk's actions. I mean, look, Rock didn't do jack squat for that WWE Championship, and those same people, I guarantee you, a good chunk of them go home and on their keyboards used to talk about how the WWE Championship was a glorified hot potato that got tossed around. Punk does the grunt work, and he awaits the plateau. Oh, by the way, while I'm on this little tangent, I'm still waiting for the new championship, because now that Punk has turned heel, this is the perfect time to unveil the new title.
Definitely.
He said, Big Show made a great point. This is Cena's belt, but here's the thing. I am the champion. And he tosses that belt in the trash, blows it up with a little remote control where the flames are just spiraling out, and he introduces a legitimate wrestling world title. And he adorns that thing on his waist with the utmost pride. And I am standing on my feet, screaming like a maniac at my television, to the point where I am sedated at the nearest psychiatric hospital, because a great heel, has returned. And you know what? The crowd can boo him all they want. I am solidly in this man's corner from now till the Rumble and even beyond, because I want him to beat The Rock. I want this comeback story. I want to yell at the top of my lungs during live reactions or whoever watches it.
You know what just hit me?
What's that?
If Punk defends his title successfully against Cena, he'll need an opponent for Night of Champions. Who was Punk's opponent at Night of Champions last year?
Oh, God, I'm trying to think. Well, last year he wasn't the champion because it was Cena Del Rio.
Exactly.
Triple H.
Triple H. Yeah.
Would I care? Punk would make me care.
No. But think about it this way. Last year, Triple H was more of the heel than Punk. This year, full-on heel Punk versus corporate daddy Triple H.
Yeah.
The COO trying to avenge his company by getting the championship back from the big bad guy.
I care. I honestly care more about that than Triple H Lesnar in the near future.
I'm right there. That's why I said that, because it just hit me like a ton of bricks. We're talking about Cena and Undertaker is just as unlikely of an opponent for Punk as anyone, but we know that there are rumblings of him competing at Survivor Series, but what's between Survivor Series and SummerSlam, we need to figure something out for Punk to do. He worked with Triple H at Night of Champions last year. Why didn't I think of that before?
Bring it on. Whatever you're going to give this guy, whatever you're going to give heel CM Punk, whatever you're going to give the 1 versus 1 million champion.
And I think that my favorite part about this is that finally we have a true #1 antagonist in this company that isn't 500 pounds and clumsy.
We have a wrestler. We have a wrestler as our ultimate antagonist. And I mean,
awesome. I love
you,
it. And
you,
dude,
you know,
seriously.
epic.
Go ahead.
You were tantalizing me with fantasy booking. I mean, again, if anybody listens to and I hate to plug another podcast like you, but Art of Wrestling with Cole Cabana, John Morrison, he said he was, leaving to get better, to hopefully get a bigger spot. Can you imagine anything bigger than him coming back to a big pop and his first priority is to reignite things with CM Punk? The possibilities are endless. He said he was going to come back in a year.
You know what? I think that my biggest thing is it doesn't matter.
God, I want it. God,
it does not. It literally doesn't matter who CM Punk's opponents are.
It doesn't.
Because the job of the antagonist is to make his opponent look good. And that is one thing that CM Punk is better at than almost, I emphasize almost because Christian and Ziggler exist, almost anybody else in the company.
And see, that's the thing. You've got me enthralled with this fantasy booking. Yeah, it more than likely won't be Morrison, but the opportunity is open now because Punk is this ginormous heel, keeping people within the company. Cena. Epic.
Dude, look at anybody. Literally name any face on the roster. I don't care if you dip down into superstars. He could make Tyson Kidd look like a legitimate opponent.
I could, honestly, it's weird because I know we just got done saying Kofi Kingston. I could see Tyson Kidd at Night of Champions if it's a multi-man match, getting an opportunity. Hell, see, because here's my thing. And as much as I hate to say it because I think he deserves so much better, you pegged it. He's the AJ Styles, but he's so under the radar. Tyson Kidd is the Santino Marella, but with so much athleticism because he gets those big-time moments. He is the sympathetic babyface. And if he were to get a shot at like a championship scramble or a six-pack challenge or whatever, I could see Tyson Kidd, mingling it up with CM Punk, to which I lose my mind. Undertaker again. And see why I would want Undertaker again. He never faced this incarnation of Punk. He faced straight edge society Punk, and Undertaker dominated. It would be the opposite here. Punk would definitely go over. I have no question about it. The Rock. Oh my God, The Rock. You're dealing with a guy who is such a phenomenal heel. The list, it has no end.
Because you know what? That's the thing. Chris Jericho has always said that the job of any great heel, whether it be a promo or a match or anything, is to make both himself and his opponent look like $1 million.
Yes.
And Punk knows how to do that. He knows how to sell matches. He knows how to put butts in seats. He knows how to sell tickets and pay-per-views and all that stuff. And the idea that he's going to be a heel now means that you can put him against literally anybody. Obviously, we have our preferred names like Cena, like Taker, like Triple H, like obviously Morrison. But there are so many names. And you could literally pull what the WWE did with R-Truth last year at Over the Limit. Or was it Capital Punishment, I think?
Capital Punishment.
You could literally do that with anybody. You could pull anybody up from some random, I think he's about to get fired spot, turn them into a babyface, build them up, and Punk would make them look like a legitimate threat to his title because he is just that good. He's not going to pull a Cena and say, oh, you're not even in my league. Yeah. He's not going to do anything like that. He's too freaking good.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's like you and I have like this mind blank. Because I was thinking about that. He's even better at it than Cena, who is the guy. When Del Rio was champion, Cena looked right at him and said, you're not in my league. Who's wearing the belt?
Well, that's because, you know what, though? John Cena isn't a heel. He's a babyface, so his only real job is to make himself look good, whereas the heel's job is to make himself and his opponent look good.
Yeah, but even Punk as the babyface, when he feuded with Del Rio, he at least gave Del Rio the acknowledgement that you are WWE champion. That's why I said, even as a babyface, Punk did that job. Because he realized,
because he's a natural heel.
It's that's very true. But I think, in essence, in my personal opinion,
isn't it kind of ironic that heels are so much more generous than babyfaces?
Yes. I have some things to think about when we go off the air. It's like Jericho said in his book, which I recommend to anybody. Not the sequel, Alliance Tale, which I still need to pick up the second book. But he said he cut a promo in one territory. And the guy chewed him out for it. He said, "Well, what are you doing?" Because Jericho was just riding the guy into the ground. You're stupid. You're ugly. Pretty much any insult in the book Jericho threw at him. And the guy's like, "What are you doing?" And then Jericho's like, "What are you talking about? I don't know what affiliation he played. It could have been the face demeaning the heel or the heel demeaning the babyface. But regardless, the guy said, 'Look, kid, if you go out there and you beat that guy, how does that make you look? You just beat a guy that you ran into the ground. That's no challenge to you. It makes you look worse because you beat a nobody.
And
If
that's
you
the
come
one problem I've always had with The Rock.
and there you go. I feel like The Rock was a little bit better because he did refer to Punk as like best in the world WWE champion. But yeah, that is a problem with guys like The Rock because they make the jokes, they do whatever, and then you go out and you win. Well, who did you beat? You beat an Oompa Loompa. You beat this. You beat that. That doesn't do anything for you.
Thank you for that reference, John.
I mean, well, seriously, it's the truth because if you look at somebody like a CM Punk and say he was going against Triple H, I could see Punk saying something like, I'm facing a multi-time world champion. I'm facing a surefire Hall of Famer. I'm facing one of the most dangerous men in our industry. They call him a cerebral assassin for a reason. And then if he goes out and he beats Triple H, you beat a multi-time world champion. You
Right.
beat a surefire Hall of Famer. You beat a guy who calls himself a cerebral assassin for a reason.
Yep.
You need a reason. Look, why should I care? Why should I give two thoughts about you beating some schmuck if you call him just that on a microphone? A poor schmuck who's washed up, came in, bypassed security, and got a title shot. That clearly sells pay-per-views. I'm elated to see his name on the marquee for SummerSlam. But if you come out and you sit Indian style and you look thoughtful and contemplative and you say, I faced a lot of guys, but I'm facing a guy who has never been hungrier for this, and maybe he shows off the world title, who has sacrificed his family, who has sacrificed his personal life for this, who I have faced many times, and he's always come this close. Like, it makes me care. And that's what Punk's reign's going to be. Because whether it's Cena, whether it's Undertaker, Triple H, John Morrison, anybody, I mean, last name notwithstanding, I am going to care. I am going to care because it's a heel acknowledging the greatness of the babyface.
Yep.
It's not some guy coming in and being like, I'm defending my title against you? Well, that's just a day off. And it's like, duel. And it's whatever. Like, wow. Way to just enter cartoon variety hour, WWE. I mean, this villain is the most dimensional I've ever seen. I mean, good freaking God. Who's he going to face next? Fred Flintstone? I mean, but Punk is not going to be that guy, and that's what's so refreshing. He is going to be, again, I reference back to JBL. JBL was so great because he always got away by the skin of his teeth. That's all the proof you needed of the greatness of the babyface. Yep. When he feuded with Booker T, he said, look, if Booker T beats me, I'll leave SmackDown. Like, he was that nervous about Booker T and that ashamed at the thought of losing to Booker T that he would leave Undertaker, Phenom, to the point where he was terrified to step back in the ring with them. Punk is going to be the opposite, of course, because he has a very different personality, but the message remains the same. This is a heel who acknowledges his opposition, who acknowledges the hurdles before him, but still takes them down anyway because he's that damn good. Not because
this right here, this is the heel turn that Austin wishes he could have pulled off in 2001.
Yes. Austin tried so hard to make it work, but I think if anybody really plateaued at that time, we mentioned Orton, it was Austin in that case. No matter what the guy did, you were going to love him. He beat up his own best friend, Jim Ross, and it still got received with cheers. I think the closest he got to getting booed was when he faced Chris Benoit in his home country of Canada for the title. That was the most boos I ever heard Austin get in that heel run, but then again, I only have so many memories of Austin being heel.
Right.
The thing with Punk is, he got boos tonight. He got a reaction, and my thing is, this is endless. It's the type of heel.
And this right here, dude, this is so exciting. Not even just because it means that we're going to get an amazing heel reign from Punk and the promos, and he's going to make everyone look great. But to me, this is literally the trigger. This is the WWE saying, "Yep, if you didn't know it before, you know it now. We're going with Punk Austin at WrestleMania 29." And that is the most exciting thing about this to me.
I hope so.
Because the idea that we might get Punk Austin, Rock Cena, and Lesnar Taker all on the same card, and that's not even counting the younger stars like Ziggler, Sheamus, Rhodes, oh my goodness, Bryan. How can I forget Bryan? The list goes on. those are just the three matches that they're going to really emphasize as like a new generation versus old generation. But the fact that those three matches on the same card, if you thought WrestleMania 28 was huge, wait until WrestleMania 29. And I've always said that the odd numbered WrestleManias are better. WrestleMania 28 was, a freak. It was the exception, not the rule. Although I will say that 18 is solid. But yeah, so apparently it's odd numbers and ones that end in 8 that are good. But
There you go.
WrestleMania 29, the 10-year anniversary of the greatest WrestleMania of all time in WrestleMania 19, and I think it might find a way to top it.
Dude, with a card like that, and that's excluding entirely the undercard, I need to buy a whole new wardrobe before WrestleMania because I will be too busy crapping myself at the idea of that card. And my thing,
We have strayed phenomenally off topic. We have a lot of stuff to talk about just as far as, and this all stemmed from Punk turning heel because this changed the entire dynamic.
it changed the game. It changed the game. And I will, let me just say two more things. Austin not being on the 1000th Raw, you owe me this WrestleMania match now, WWE.
Yeah.
If you're not going to give me Austin on Raw 1000, give me him at WrestleMania 29. Second thing, Ashton, isn't it wonderful? Isn't it glorious? Isn't it just outright beautiful that this cycle of babyface champions got broken in this fashion?
Yes.
That it ended in this way?
Yes.
Even all babyface champions in its own awkward way was a payoff. Because it's like, it's been so disrupted. It's been entirely altered. You've just entered the pipe bomb chromosome into the DNA of championships in WWE. And I'm floored. But you know what? Let's just end it at that.
Okay.
What do you want to talk about next?